Does it fit a phone? That's the question I always got when I released the vacation strap. So with this pattern, I know I needed to change something. I had to make a strap which will fit a phone. And this is how the Strapology came together. Let's look at all the details together. The Strapology strap has two compartments that are secured by a zipper. Underneath the taller compartment, you'll find a D-ring, so you can attach some sunglasses or your keyring. Let's open up the large compartment. On the interior, you'll find a slip pocket, which is perfect for cards, IDs, things like that. And if you would wear it, you can open it like this so that nothing will fall out. It's ideal for any regular sized smartphone. The smaller pocket has an elastic, so you can attach something like earbuds or maybe some cards as well, some cash if you like. And the strap is adjustable, so you can decide how tight you would like your strap to sit. You can either close the two swivel clasps on the bottom like this, you connect them like this to wear just the strap by itself. You could also use the strap to attach it to any type of bag which has a D-rings on the sides. And another option will be to buy a strap connector adapter that you can put inside your phone case and carry it on the strap on the bottom of the strap. We do need some fabric glue. I really suggest you to get some fabric glue like a pen, like it's really, really handy. You could also use some double-sided tape, but the construction of the Strapology is kind of different, so we need to be gluing down the borders of some pieces, and the fabric glue is kind of essential for this pattern. But before we get to that part, we will start preparing our fabrics and our materials. So in my case, I've used an outdoor fabric, which is water resistant. It's perfect for the Strapology, but you could also do this from faux leather. And for the lining, I've used some regular quilting cotton. When it comes to the interfacing, I suggest Decophyllite and some volume fleece like Pelon Thermolam or H2 630. You can see both of them compared. No G700 for the lining this time. If you have been using my patterns, I always suggest to do that, but in this case we won't. We also need some webbing. We do need some zipper tape and some hardware. So therefore, we will need 4 zipper pulls. We also need 2 swivel clasps and a slider, the same size as your webbing, of course. We do need a D-ring. Mine is 2 centimeters wide. And we also need a square ring. I have this oval ring. This will do fine as well, and the color fits much better. A piece of clear vinyl is required for the slip pocket on the interior. And for the bigger pocket, I used some elastic to attach it to the interior of the small pocket. So print out this sheet to help you prepare everything. I will walk you through piece by piece now on how to prepare your interfacings. We will start with piece A. So we need 2 main fabric pieces from piece A, 2 Decophyllite, and 1 for the volume, only 1, okay? So when you fuse your interfacing on your main fabric, start with the Decophyllite, fuse it to the wrong side of the fabric, and use the Pelon Thermolam only for the back of the strap. So the front, which will be the pockets will be attached to, doesn't have the volume fleece, only the back. When it comes to piece C, you see we need 1 main, 1 lining, and then 1 Decophyllite and 1 volume fleece without seam allowance, of course. And we fuse it to the main fabric, Decophyllite first and then the volume fleece on top. Now we also have a different pattern piece, which is piece I, is the stabilizer for the lining. So you will cut out 1 Decophyllite, and fuse it to the wrong side of pattern piece B lining. Piece C is one lining piece and one decophyllite piece, so use the decophyllite to fuse it to the wrong side of the lining piece. Piece D, we will need one main, one lining, and for interfacing we need one decophyllite and one Pellon thermolam. So I always cut out a second set of pieces for the dotted lines, and we will fuse it to the main fabric. And for this one again, we do have a separate piece just for the stabilizer, which is piece J. So we will fuse the stabilizer to the wrong side of the lining piece. Piece E is a lining piece and it has its own decophyllite piece as well. So we fuse this to the wrong side as well. Of course, the tabs, they speak for themselves. We don't need any interfacing. When it comes to the H piece, see, I've cut a second piece just for decophyllite without any seam allowance, and I fuse it on the wrong side. We will make some slits on there later, and then there will be the clear vinyl that comes in place right there. First, we will make pocket 1, the taller pocket. We need a piece of zipper with 2 sliders attached, and we do need the 2 tabs, 1 set to be exact, for main and lining. And we align the short ends. This zipper is sandwiched in between those tabs, and we sew this edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Then we baste the main fabric down on the zipper right sides together. And because this is kind of hard, because we need to put the lining underneath so that is sandwiched in between those 2 pieces as well. But the zipper is so long, it's kind of hard to get it in the right way. So baste first and then sew with 1 centimeter seam allowance. So then you've created a gusset. If you turn this fabric right side out, you give it a top stitch around all edges, you've created the gusset for your pocket 1. Mark all the centers on top, bottom, and sides, and do as well with the pocket 1 main fabric piece, which is piece B. I also marked the centers on the side edges as well. And next we will place the gusset right sides together on our markings, aligned by our markings, top first, then bottom, then sides. And for a perfect fit, I will make some small slits into the zipper. So make sure you have a high quality zipper that won't fray. Some zippers tend to fray. They are kind of, you cannot really snip them. So make sure that it's okay for your zipper, because this needs to be a perfect fit. So I really make really tiny snips so they will disappear in the seam allowance later on. And then I will align all edges right sides together, and I use a lot of clips to secure everything in place. The way that the pockets are constructed is to avoid binding, because I've tried this pattern with binding too and I didn't like it. And to avoid turning these little pockets right side out. I mean, the tall pocket will work, but the smaller pocket is so hard to turn right side out if you would leave like an opening. Like if you put the lining piece on top and leave an opening and then turn the pocket, you could do this, of course, if you use fabrics that are not too heavy. So, and if you use faux leather or thicker fabrics, this is a great way to avoid birthing this pocket later on. So first I'll baste, and then I will sew with 7mm seam allowance, 1/4 inch. You can see baseline and the correct seam allowance. So now let's set this aside, and we will now use the lining piece and first make a slip pocket. So therefore I will cut into the corners on the inside until I get to the decophyllite. and I will fold the inner edges down. You can use fabric glue like the pen, or you can use some double-sided tape. I think double-sided tape here works a little bit better because my fabric is not really sticking on there. Like when I use the lining fabric later on, it's perfect. It will stay in place, but this outdoor fabric didn't like any kind of glue, to be honest. So I also use some clips to keep this in place because it will fall off, like you can see. You can also attach the double-sided tape to the Decophyllite and then fold the edges over. Make sure they sit very tight, so pull a little bit that the edges is in place like it should be. Continue with all inner edges, fold them over, and then place the vinyl piece on top. So the vinyl piece has the exact same size as the H Decophyllite outer edges. So you can see it should be lining up with the edges from the Decophyllite. I use some clips to keep this in place, and then I will top stitch from the top really close to this edge on the inside. Like, I show you what I mean. See, I had this little corner here peeking out, so I push it back through. Then I will top stitch to connect those two pieces together. If you like to, you can leave long threads and pull it to the back and then tie them together so you won't see any locking of the stitches from the front. When you're done, take some scissors and snip the corners off really close to the Decophyllite. And then we will fold down the top edge of the piece. So check what's the top. This is the top, so I will just simply fold this down and give it a top stitch. Afterwards, I will fold down all the other edges as well. And if you had some dirt on it, clean it now, especially from the back, because later on it will be hard to clean from the inside. So we will place it on piece B. Make sure you have the right piece. Don't get it like mixed up with the other tall lining piece. And then before we attach it, we'll make some slits into the seam allowance of the lining piece right where the curves are. And then take some fabric glue and glue down the edges to the wrong side of the piece. The Decophyllite will be your folding guide. The corners might be tough, so I use my fingernails to keep the shape of the curve. So the fabric, because of the slits, will be adjusting to the curves easily. If you pull the little piece like really down, like hard, and form that curve on the top. Use some clips to keep everything in place and work your way around the whole piece. My fabric glue tends to dry so quickly, so that I only go it's like part by part and not do the whole thing at once. And then let it dry. Like I said, mine dries really quickly, but I let it dry with the clips attached. So next we will place our slip pocket on top. I checked first if the measurements are correct. Put the slip pocket on top 6 centimeters from the top edge, which will be 2.5 inches, and centered. And then simply top stitch your slip pocket on your lining piece B. Next, we will place it onto our main fabric piece. Therefore, fold the seam allowance from the zipper tape inwards and create a fold in each corner, like I do it right here. See, we're pushing both edges together, so there's like a fold on top, and then push this fold down and secure it with a clip. Repeat this for all the corners. Next, you place the lining piece on top, making sure it covers the stitches. And it should be centered, of course. And you need to take some time for this step. I rearranged this piece a couple of times until I'm totally happy. So everything is covered, and also the folds in the corners are covered properly. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with my English today. And you have to tuck the corners into the corners of the zipper. So when you're happy, just use clips to keep everything in place and make sure it won't like slide off. And then correct yourself as many times as you need to correct it until you're happy and it sits well. And then we will sew these two pieces together by top stitching. But I will take you to my sewing machine and show you, of course, how I do this, because this is quite tricky, especially on the bottom edge. The zipper pulls might be in the way, and yeah, it can be hard. So you need to go slow, and you need to see, like here, I rearranged it again because I wasn't like 100% happy, because it needs to be centered and it needs to sit right. And it should not be in the way of the spiral of the zipper. Now we'll top stitch. And now I did one mistake. I will show you exactly what I did wrong in a moment. So I will start here on the bottom edge where it's the hardest. So you should take a zipper foot for that top stitching. Mine is broken. So I did it with my foot, my regular walking foot, but it's quite slim. So if you have a slim walking foot, it should be fine too. So leave a long thread because we will tie them together in the end. I will start here in the center of the bottom edge. And as you can see, it will be hard to go by the zipper pull because you need to sew a curve. You need to top stitch a curve really close to the zipper pull, and that's going to be hard. So using a zipper foot is easier. And like maybe you saw this already, I forgot to put my zipper tape to the back. It's right underneath my piece and it's really disturbing. It's not a big deal, it's working anyways, but it's annoying. So it should have been folded to the back. So keep that in mind when top stitching these two pieces together. It was really annoying like that, but it's possible. It's not impossible. So you don't because once you've started, of course you want to finish this round. So the top curves are a little bit easier, so make sure that you keep everything pushed down, that the seam allowance from the zipper tape is within your stitches, so they won't be visible. Therefore, you also need to top stitch quite close to the edge for your corners not to be in the way and disturbing your zipper later on. But they also need to go through both layers. So this is why arranging those two pieces together is really important. They need to be on top of each other, and because your stitches are supposed to go through all the layers, right? So if your lining piece is not big enough, you would have a problem by missing it with your stitches. And of course you want to be close to the edge, so the corners of the lining pieces are sewn in correctly. So now we get to the second zipper pull. Try to get this out of the way. And now pull the thread to the back from the beginning. This one right here. Pull this to the back. Oh, another thing you would need to think about is that the thread that's comes from the bottom of your sewing machine needs to be the correct color of your lining piece. So keep that in mind when top stitching. And then try to hit the exact point where you started, and then leave a long thread as well. And we will tie these knots together. So pull the second thread to the back of your piece and make a couple of knots. I've made this a bit quicker here, but I made like 2 or 3 knots at least. Now check your piece and congratulate yourself. This is kind of cool actually. Pocket 1 is done. Let's move on to pocket 2, which is done in the same way. We need some zipper tape and our set of zipper tabs. So sandwich your zipper in between your lining and main piece and sew this edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance. And form a gusset as well with basting first and then 1 centimeter as well, and then top stitching both layers together. Mark all of your centers, like top, bottom, and both sides on your gusset ring and your piece, main fabric piece, and align the gusset onto your main fabric piece. Also snip the corners, so snip the zipper tape where it's above the corners, round edges of the main fabric piece. Baste together first and then sew with 7mm seam allowance. Then set this aside and we will make the lining piece, this time without a slip pocket. So of course you can add one if you like, you can get creative. Make sure you get the right piece, the D lining piece, don't get it mixed up. Make some cuts into the seam allowance where it's above the curves and glue down the seam allowance from the lining piece using the Deco-Fill light as a folding guide. Let it dry and then fold the zipper tape, the seam allowance to the wrong side, again creating these folds in the corners and pushing them down, making them flat and securing them with a clip. Of course, another great way to do that would be to add some fabric glue here too, to glue down the seam allowance. Of course, you can do that too. Why didn't I think of that earlier? I guess the folding down method really worked for me fine. So it's basically exactly the same thing that we did with the bigger pocket. It's just a little bit harder to do with the smaller pocket. So make sure when you put the lining on top that everything is covered, that you don't want to see like stitches from the wrong side of your piece. They all need to be covered. Arrange until you're happy and secure with clips and then top stitch, but this time make sure the zipper tape is out of the way and not in your way, disturbing you throughout the whole top stitching process. And make sure you have the right thread color. See, I pull this like this so it's not in the way. Again, this is the bottom. I will start at the bottom edge as well, leaving a long thread so I can tie them together at the end. And then I will start top stitching with the zipper being out of the way, as you can see. The zipper pull is disturbing again and being in my way, of course. But with the zipper foot, this is gonna be easier. And then work your way around the whole piece, making sure you catch every layer so that the lining piece is of course in your stitches, and the fold needs to be folded in that way that nothing's visible from the inside. Pull the thread to the back of the piece and try to land in the same spot where you started. Leave a long thread, pull the thread to the back and tie them together with 2 or 3 knots, and then trim off the thread. Now check pocket 2, close it and see if everything's fitting nice and right, if the zipper is closing smoothly. And just like that, pocket 2 is done. So there are your 2 pockets. You can be really proud of yourself. You just did an assembly that may be a bit unusual, but let's keep on going. There's much more to do. Next, we will attach these pockets, and to prepare this we need piece C and E, and we will glue the edges down exactly the same way as we did before with the lining pieces. So before we do this with the smaller pocket, we will add some elastics. I kind of changed my mind a little bit, as you can see soon, because I was planning to use this beige color, but when I placed it on my lining I didn't like the color combo. So I don't know why, but something was off with this color combo, so of course I had to change it, and I thought black would be a much better fit. And so yeah, you would need like 12 centimeters of elastics. It's 1 inch wide, 2.5 centimeters. You place it on your piece without any tension, please, and then baste it on the sides. So next we will make some snips into the curvy section of our lining, and then we will glue down all the edges for both pieces the same way, like forming the curves nicely, folding this on top of each other and then letting it dry. Use some clips, then everything will stay in place and dry nicely like that, especially with the small piece where the elastic band is, because of course it's not gonna stay down there like with just glue, especially because if you fold it over, there's slightly a tiny bit of tension on it. So use a clip and let it dry, and then it should be fine. Okay, this can dry now. In the meantime, we will prepare the A piece, which will be the top, so without the volume, please. This is the back, this is the front, so we need the front piece without the volume, please. And we will make the markings on there just as you have them on the pattern pieces. So transfer the marking centered on your A piece. I use some chalk. Of course you can use some fabric marker. In the end they won't be visible because they will be covered with the piece. Also mark the center, but on the top piece the center can be hard because you need to adjust a little bit because it's not as tall as it is wide. So first, do not forget the D-ring. This happened to me before because I wanted to attach the pocket. First we need to prepare the D-ring tab, so we fold the long edges towards the center to the wrong side of the piece and top stitch. Then thread the D-ring onto the tab and align the short ends. Next we will place it on our A piece, like on the center marking, on the bottom piece, on the bottom marking for the tall pocket, and you let the edges stand over for 1 centimeter, 3/8 inch, and you just baste it in place within the lines, within the rectangle. So next we will baste the pocket 1 onto the strap A. So open up the zipper and align the bottom center markings just like that. I will not attach it like this. I will just hold it on there on my machine, because we will baste this edge right here first from marking to marking, and it's easier to start in the center, go to the side, and then to the other side and back to the center. So here you can see me how I align this centered on my marked line, and then I will start basting this down until I get to the corner. Do not sew over the corner. Then if your stitches might be too long, just stop one stitch before you get to the edge. It does not have to be exactly on the marking. It needs to be close to the marking, but not over the marking, okay? Then I stitch one stitch up, and then I go back and I will stop at the next corner. Watch out for the zipper pull, this annoying little thing. Yes, stop at the corner and align the bottom edge of pocket 1 straight. Align it to the drawn marking. You don't need any pretty stitches here. This is basting. This will be covered later on, so just need to make sure that it stays on there. Lock your stitch and now do the top edge in exactly the same way. Place the zipper right sides together, aligned by the center marking. Turn the piece like this, and then start at the center again and baste until you get to the corner of the rectangle that you've just drawn onto the A piece. Then one stitch up and go back until you get to the other corner. Do not sew above this marking. Down one stitch again and back to the center, and then lock your stitch. And next repeat this on the side edge. Align the center marking again. And now make sure that the seam allowance of the zipper tape is going inwards at the corners, because now it's going to be a little bit tougher to stitch into the corner because you have some tension on there, of course. So we will create another fold that we will fold down later. We do not need to sew above this fold right now, because we will stop at the corner again or slightly before. Do not stitch over this corner. And then we go back, basting the zipper tape in place. It's helpful to use a thread that has the same color as your zipper tape, just in case your basting stitches get too far towards the zipper coil. You see here it's hard because the zipper pull is not helpful, but you can use like a tool to make sure that the zipper band is folded towards the inside of the pouch. And then go back to where you started, lock your stitch, and then repeat on the second side edge in the same way. I showed this step here for pocket 1 in all the details, and it's slightly even sped up, but just really a little bit. So take your time for this step, and pocket 2 will be attached in the same way. So if you are unsure of how to attach it, just get back to this part and look at it for details. So there's a lot of thread hanging there. Oh, you could leave them there too, because they will be on the inside and you won't be able to see them, but they might get in your way while attaching the lining piece to the main piece. So just trim them off, but all the basting should be covered by the lining piece. So let's attach the lining piece, and to make sure that the folds here in the corners are not sticking outwards, make sure they go to the inside, because they should be sewn into the piece. So you need to make sure they're going the right direction. The zipper tape should be inwards and the fold should be like flat, pushed down with your fingers, and then place the lining piece on top. Make sure to tuck the corners in and secure this with some clips. Make sure it's centered and it's not interfering with the coil of your zipper with the spiral. Then we will top stitch. Make sure that your top thread has this nice the color that you like, and then leave a long thread because we will pull this to the back as well. Make sure the basting stitches are covered, and if you're more comfortable with a zipper foot, use a zipper foot. Mine is broken, like you know. And then we will baste this on there. See, this is really hard to do without a zipper foot. So I tried to pull this in the right direction, but it was definitely in the way for this foot. So I used a hump jumper to avoid the height difference, because I could not get the zipper pull out of the way correctly. So use a hump jumper if this is helpful, and just go one stitch at a time, because we don't want this to slip down here from this high position and make like a crooked long stitch in this place. So this is just the hard part, is where the zipper pulls are. The top edges is easier. Make sure that everything's covered nicely and that you stitch through the lining piece and not through the zipper coil. Do you say zipper coil or zipper spiral? I'm not sure. In German it's Spirale, but yeah. I'm recording at the evening. Maybe I should do the voiceovers in the morning, because my head seems to function a little bit better when it comes to speaking English. I'm sorry. I try my best, but I think with each tutorial I record, I get better. But if you guys could see how many pieces I've deleted already, because I was talking so much, I don't know how you would say, not bullshit, but nonsense sometimes. I mean, like, what the hell were you talking about, Sarah? Okay, zipper pull number 2 is gonna get in our way, but first let's pull the thread to the back. I mean, you don't have to do this. Of course, you can lock your stitches as well. It depends on the look you're going for, maybe the color of thread you're using that is not as visible, because if you pull it to the back, like in this case you won't see it, but on the interior of the flap from the other side, of course, you see the little knots that you've tied to. So that was pocket 1, attaching pocket 1. Check the zipper if everything's correct, and check underneath the curves if you can live with that result, if it's nicely and nothing peeking out of the corners here. Check them now, because now will be the time to fix it. And let's attach pocket number 2 in exactly the same way. So I will baste the edges first, starting with the bottom edge. I will sew from marking to marking, then the top, and then the sides. So the sides needs to be arranged. If the center will fit or not, try and then move it. Don't rely on this side marking too much, okay? This is how it looks like when it's basted on there. So I will take my pokey tool and pull the zipper band towards the center of my pocket, that everything will be hidden later on and sewn into the piece. And then I will take the lining piece and cover everything up. Make sure the rounded corners are disappearing in the zipper just nicely without being in the way. Make sure it's centered and it sits right, and then top stitch in the same way that we've just did. You can leave a long thread and pull it to the back later and tie it. Then check if everything's correct, if nothing's in the way or sticking out, and we can move on to the final step, which is assembly. You will need 2 pieces of webbing, a shorter one that you thread your square ring on, and then align the short ends and put it to the top of your piece, and let the edges stand over for 1 centimeter, 3/8 inches, and then take the longer piece. Do not fold it together, just place one end centered like I do it right here, standing 1 centimeter, 3/8 inches over the edges, and baste in place. Now we need the A piece with the volume fleece, which will be the back. And you could imagine you need to make sure that the print is in the right direction, and then align the short ends. And imagine you would have to change this through an opening. That would be really hard to do, so I decided for a different approach. And you will see why, because we will sew right here where the curves start and end there as well, from here to here. And then I will baste it first and then sew with 7mm seam allowance. And repeat this with the other end. This is a little bit harder because we cannot open the zipper pocket on the bottom. Again, make sure that the square ring sits on the top where the small pocket is on the short end, and the long piece of webbing on the bottom. Baste first and sew with 7mm seam allowance. It's just important that you start before the curves. How far you go is totally up to you, of course. You just need to be able to change this to the right side. And now, since the sides are open, it's so much easier to turn this right side out, especially if you use thicker fabrics or faux leather, vinyl, things like that. Especially with thick fabrics, the piece where the webbing is quite thick. So when top stitching, consider that you might need to change your needle to a thicker needle. I use my chopstick to poke out the curves from the strap, as well as the corners where the webbing is. Especially the curves need to be formed out because they tend to lose its shape if you don't poke them with something from the interior. And then we will fold the seam allowance inwards using the Deco-Fill Light as a guide. So now this is another step which requires some patience, because we need to align the edges perfectly on top of each other. So start with the top A piece, fold one side down, and leave a tiny bit here on the side because we need to top stitch and we need a little bit of space to top stitch. You could also top stitch through the zipper tape, but it's kind of dangerous because you might sew into the spiral and then you have a problem with closing your bag, your strap or the zipper from the pocket. So leave like a little bit of space for top stitching. And then fold the seam allowance from the bottom A piece to the inside as well, and make sure that both of these edges are aligned perfectly. So put them into the same clip that you've used for the top and check if everything looks nice, and then repeat on the other edge as well. See, they need to be on top of each other, nicely sitting aligned. Repeat on the other side And if you figure that it's not sitting perfectly on top of each other, then adjust by changing the clips on the first edge to make it fit. So this takes some time as well. So now I check my whole piece, see if everything sits nicely on top of each other, and then top stitch. And I will start at the bottom where the D-ring is. I show you right here. So it's on the bottom of the strap and not really visible. So you can lock your stitch here, or you can pull it to the back if you like. It's up to you. So the zipper coil will be folded in the way, so you need to make sure, especially for the bottom curve, is kind of the hardest part, to make sure that your foot is not sliding down. So again, use a zipper foot, okay? Okay, and then work your way around the whole piece. See, I've edited this here because it would take a little bit too long. And when you get to this part, this is where it gets really thick. So if you're using webbing that is thick plus vinyl or faux leather, maybe change your needle before this step. I hope your machine is powerful enough, but if you're bag making, you know this, right? You need a powerful sewing machine, especially for advanced patterns like this. But as you can see, I just top stitch around the whole piece until I get to the point where I started. And since I've left this tiny bit of space here, it's just enough for the top stitching. And I realized I missed a tiny part, so I had to redo this again. Okay, this is how it looks like. We're almost done, and all the hard part is done already. Okay, looking good. So check your zipper if everything's closing correctly, and then we can attach our silver clasp and another piece of webbing, because we want our strap to be adjustable, right? So first, attach one swivel clasp to the bottom strap, fold it over twice and secure with clips, and then cut another piece of webbing. So this piece of webbing will be 1 meter and 10 centimeters, 43 inches long, and then thread the short end, one end on the slider, fold over like this, and secure with stitches. I just stitched a rectangle. Next, take this webbing with the edge being on the top. Make sure the webbing is not twisted. Thread it from the bottom to the top through the squaring, and then through the slider again. And then take the second swivel clasp, fold over the short end twice as well, and then secure with stitches. I've stitched an X box, which is kind of like a nicer look on both of these here. And then you're done. Can you believe this? So I know constructing this might have been a little bit different. It's a different approach, but this is what I like. Just teaching you guys maybe some new stuff and some new ways. It might be frustrating at first, but hey, that's how we grow. So let's grow together. Check out my Patreon if you're not on there already. And on the last tutorial, I showed my bag maker subscribers how to do these cool mock-ups. So if you're interested in mini tutorials like this, and anything bag making related, you should definitely check out my Patreon channel. I hope you liked this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed the sew, and show your finished projects on our Facebook group, which is the Social Bag Makers. and I hope we can get to make many more bags together. See you around next time. Bye!